This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for this program is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Today on Local Color, a look at the upcoming Indie Memphis Film Festival, featuring one film about a legendary band and one about a music venue blast from the past. We'll also have a few Halloween treats. Hi, I'm Mamie. Welcome to Local Color. You know, this is my favorite time of year. Halloween's coming up. What do you do on Halloween, John?
Turn out the lights and hide from the neighborhood children. No, there's lots of great things to do, and I know that Chatterbox Theater always has like some sort of a spooky radio program scheduled.
This year is their 5th anniversary, and for those of you that don't know, Chatterbox Theater is an audio troupe made up of actors, musicians, gaffers, and there's only like 5 people on set, and they do all the sound effects. They do everything. It's really cool. Didn't you do it once?
I wrote one of the people. Well, every Halloween, the Chatterbox Audio Theater takes over your FM 91.1 with tales of horror and suspense, and many of them were written by local writers. And the very first year that they did it, I participated in it as a writer. And for 5 years now, they bring us these great, it's like radio theater. You know, they have the Foley artists, so they do all the sound effects, and yes, it's very...
And this year is from 7 until 8, and they're going to, what I heard was, they're going to have a special presentation, but they're also taking bits and pieces from the past years and doing a section of them on the show.
Oh, so it's going to be like a very special episode where we get clips from previous episodes.
Yeah.
Compilation of screams and stabbings.
Absolutely. And you know, we like to turn it on because it's great to run in the background when we're out giving candy out to the kids, because we stay at home for Halloween and do that, and I love that.
Yep, we do that too.
Coming up next, Eric Jambor talks to us about the Indie Memphis Film Festival. But first, I don't want you to miss some upcoming events like Anthony Bourdain coming to the Orpheum. How cool is that? We're coming up on my favorite time of the year. It is the 15th annual Indie Memphis Film Festival, November the 1st through the 4th in Overton Square. The venues this year are going to be the Brooks, Playhouse on the Square, Circuit, Studio, and I'm so excited you're here with us, Eric. John and I have a lot of questions about this year's festival. What can you tell me? What this year do we have to really look forward to? I mean, last year was pretty special. I don't know how you're going to outdo yourself.
Well, we're always trying to top ourselves, and I think one of the things we're excited about is this new whole pass structure where it's very easy for someone to get in at the ground level and have a pass that lets them kind of wander around and sample a little bit of everything, because you've got a mix of everything from the Big Star film, the U.S. premiere of the new Big Star film, to the world premiere of the Antenna documentary, of course, to local short films, to Dustin Hoffman's directorial debut, to films like Not Fade Away, which is one of the ones I'm looking forward to a lot. It's from the guy that did The Sopranos, David Chase.
Oh, really? So tell me a little bit about Not Fade Away.
Well, that's our closing night film, so we're running that on Sunday the 4th, and it's at the Playhouse. And that's a rock and roll band coming together sort of film. And it's in the 60s, and some kids see the Rolling Stones and decide to form their own band. So it kind of fits in with this music theme we have running through the festival with, you know, Big Star Antenna, and then, you know, going back to the 60s a little bit. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, now, you've mentioned the music theme. Last year you had some really great musical talent that was there performing for everyone at the festival. What are you going to have this year?
Yeah, again, music is an important part of the festival. There's live music throughout, both in the theaters before movies and at the Festival Cafe and at some special events. Amy LaVere will be playing at the fest. You'll have a Bobby Bear Jr. is coming in. He's the subject of one of the documentaries.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's going to be playing at our music showcase that we're doing at the Young Avenue Deli. And so you'll see a lot of your favorites, Jason Freeman, a lot of Memphis greats, and a few surprises in the mix.
Well, now you talked a little bit about the pass structure, and I really like that because you can get an all-inclusive pass where you can do everything. You can go hit, from the 1st to the 4th, everything. But then you can do, what do you call the pass? The one that I get where I get to pick and choose.
Well, what we've done this year is if you buy any pass, you get a free membership with Indie Memphis, so you can kind of support the year-round events and enjoy year-round benefits. But kind of the inverse of that is if you buy a $50 membership, you get this free pass called the Festival Tripper Pass.
The Tripper Pass,
and with
that's
that,
it.
yeah, you basically just get in line, and we sort of have priority seating like Southwest Airlines does. So first the A group priority goes in with that line, and the B group priority, and the C group priority. And most films don't sell out, so that's a very affordable way to just get in line and try to see some films.
So are y'all going to dress up like the guys do on Southwest?
We may.
Is that a scoop? We've got a scoop, John. What are you looking forward to?
Well, honestly, there really are a lot of great films that are screening at Indie Memphis this year. I've seen, maybe a third or more of the features, and there's a lot of competition on the opening night, which is Thursday night. In addition to the Big Star documentary, you've got a film called Sun Don't Shine, directed by Amy Seimetz, and it stars Memphis's Kentucker Audley in a different kind of role, and sort of hesitate to coin this phrase, but you might call it mumble noir. It's kind of like a film noir meets mumblecore kind of film, and it's about two lovers more or less on the run, and it's very unusual and it's worth seeing. But in competition with that is a documentary called Side by Side, which is hosted by Keanu Reeves, but don't let that scare you. This is it is a very intelligent documentary that examines the controversy or the debate over whether filmmaking should retain an allegiance to traditional film, or go all digital. So you have different filmmakers talking about the pros and cons, like Christopher Nolan, who does the Dark Knight movies, is still a guy who wants to shoot on film. Then you have some old school guys like David Lynch and Martin Scorsese, who are sort of getting into the digital world. So this documentary is screening at the Memphis Brooks Museum Friday night, and it's definitely worth seeing.
Well, that leads me to another conversation. You have a lot of excellent speakers and workshops at the festival as well.
We do. And one of the things we're excited about is this whole new innovation component of the festival, where normally we start Thursday night and then Friday night's the next main programs. Well, we're filling in all of Saturday with the help of Microsoft and FedEx and some other folks. So there are all these innovation conversations going on. And you have to get one of the higher level passes to participate in that. It's a lot of folks coming in from Google and from BBDO, that's FedEx's ad agency, talking about a lot of really interesting topics of interest to filmmakers and of interest to other sort of technology-related people. So that'll be a lot of fun. But then that leads into a lot of the film conversations that happen on Saturday and Sunday when most of the filmmakers are in town. And with that group, you'll be able to, sit down and hear from, screenwriters and documentary filmmakers and feature filmmakers. And we have a new focus this year on music supervisors. So we've got this fellow Joe Rudge coming in, and Joe did the music supervision for Blue Valentine and Margin Call and the Martin Scorsese, George Harrison documentary. So he'll be talking about the role of music supervisors with some of his colleagues.
That's cool.
And then even letting people sit down, and we'll have one-on-one mentoring available for festival participants.
Oh, that's really cool.
So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun for all sorts of people.
Well, now, one thing that I love the Hometowner shorts, but I love shorts because it's such a great way to go out and see new emerging filmmakers and their style. And you've got a lot of shorts this year. How many segments? 8?
I think, yeah, it's 8 programs.
That is awesome.
It's pretty jam-packed.
So how many of the short segments are the Tennessee shorts?
Well, there are 2 that are focused on Memphis filmmakers. And then you'll see Memphis work kind of sprinkled throughout the program. But the way we sort of set up the schedule is there's usually either a shorts program, a narrative film, or a documentary film to choose from. So in your case, you could spend the whole weekend and pretend like it was just a short film festival.
I know, it's
so there's
great.
so much going on.
It's really cool. Well, I'm excited. What is I know that I'm putting you on the spot, but what is the one thing that we need to make sure that we catch?
Well, I would say one film that people might want to check out is Keep the Lights On, the new one from Ira Sachs, who is from Memphis, and he won the Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance Film Festival in 2005 for his film 40 Shades of Blue. And this new one is a very intense relationship drama, and it's been getting lots of press. I think this is the movie that is really going to move Ira Sachs into kind of a next level where his next movie after this is going to get a lot of attention. People are going to want to work with him. So I would say that people might want to check out Keep the Lights On.
Well, I can't wait. Thanks, Eric, for being here so much. Coming up, Chris talks with the producer of Antenna. Be sure to visit IndieMemphis.com to get more information about this year's festival. And here's some more info on upcoming films.
One of the highlights of this year's Indie Memphis Film Festival is a documentary called Antenna. It's about a punk rock club that existed at the corner of Madison and Avalon in Memphis, one of America's oldest and longest lived punk and alternative clubs. It's been gone for a while, but thanks to filmmaker Chris McCoy, we're going to get a chance to relive everything that happened. Now, instead of talking about the Antenna right away, let's talk about the film and the origins of this film, because it begins with the Antenna reunion.
Well, it actually goes back a little farther than that. Ross Johnson, who was a local writer and also was the drummer from Pantaburns, was trying to write a book about this era. And he got from his literary agent said, well, we don't really can sell the book because people don't know what the music sounds like. So why don't you make a movie? And so he and John Floyd, who was a friend of his and who was a music writer, came to me and said, with a little bit of money to get started, and said, we know your work and we want you to make this movie with us. But it had the origins really in Ross's book proposal. And then the other person that we needed to be persuaded to do this was Steve McGee, the former owner of the club.
Right.
And Steve didn't think that that anybody cared anymore, but there was an Antenna reunion. I think that was in 2009, the original one.
14 years.
14
years after the closing, tons and tons of people from all over the country, all over the world, converged on the corner of Madison and Avalon to just relive this moment in time. What was it about the Antenna Club that brought people, after so many years, back to this corner to...
Well, for one thing, it's something that we touch on in the movie. It was kind of the home for freaks, the home for broken toys, the people who didn't fit in anywhere else. They found a community, a creative community, and just a place where they could go and hang out and listen to the kind of music that they wanted to listen to. And back then, people don't... Nowadays, I think in the internet era, when you can just hear anything you want at any time you want, people don't appreciate how difficult it was to find, punk rock music back in the late 70s and early 80s.
Mike McCarthy, another Memphis filmmaker, once said the great irony of the Antenna Club was that if you were an alternative type person, you only had one place to go.
Yeah. Well, and Mike is in the movie, and Mike says in our movie that the reason that he moved to Memphis was because of the Antenna Club. And we see a lot of that too. It created a creative community, and I think it helped give Midtown its creative flavor, and people moved into apartments because they were in walking distance of the Antenna.
Right.
But like you were saying, it was the only place to go. If you liked punk rock, if you like alternative music, if you like any of that stuff, there was no place else that would play it.
So let's go back in time a little bit and talk about the origins. It begins in the late 70s. It was
78. The Sex Pistols played in Memphis in 1978, January of 1978. I think it was like 4 days before they broke up or something like that. But at that time, people found each other. Nobody, it's like I'm the only everybody thought they were the only person in Memphis who was listening to punk rock. And then all these people showed up at the Sex Pistols show, and they realized that they have, a community. And they descended on this place called The Well, which was an old, as Randy Chertoff says, it smelled like a nursing home for alcoholics. It was an old country bar, and they were fading away, and anybody that could bring people in,
And Randy Chertoff was, of course, the leader of the Randy Band.
The Randy Band, who were the first people to play there. Randy kind of discovered the place and made it, and then it made it what it was, which was, but then that was in late '78, and then in 1981, Jimmy Barker and Steve McGee were looking to make a new wave club, basically is what they were thinking, and they showed music videos there, and that was.
The Rock America music videos were sort of a signature of the place for a long time.
That was the only place you could see music videos in Memphis. That was years before MTV was available.
As Ross Johnson, who's a writer and also was the drummer for Tad Falco's Panther Burns, once pointed out, that anyone who could bring in a crowd that drank beer could play at the Antenna Club.
Oh yeah,
it was a great proving ground for young Memphis musicians. Bands like the Grifters, the Oblivions, Pez.
Oh yeah.
But also tons of touring bands that Sherman Wilmot, I'm name dropping today, who founded Shangri-La, would often say it was like the one place you could go where you'd be one of a handful of people watching one of the greatest bands in the world.
Oh yeah.
Can you run down a list of some of these great bands?
Sure.
That we're going to see in the documentary, maybe?
Yeah. We talk a lot about Black Flag, who was the punk band that sort of defined what became the touring circuit for these bands. We interviewed Mike Mills with REM, who played there for 6 people the first time they were in town. But and I talked to last night. I talked to a guy from Mission of Burma who was like, oh yeah, who's now in the Alloy Orchestra.
Yeah, Steve McGee talks about how he remembers like being one of the only people in the club watching this great show by Mission of Burma, practically empty.
Yeah.
Now everyone swears up and down they were at that REM concert.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
They weren't. There were only 6 people there the first time. Second time, there would be progressively more people and progressively more
I
people.
hate that we're running out of time because this is something I could talk about for hours and hours because I wasted my youth at the Antenna just as you did.
Yes, sir.
But I would like to thank Chris McCoy for being here with us today. And here's a look at some of the theater events that are going on around town this week.
We've got Indie Memphis Film Festival coming up, and this is Memphis Means Music Month, and I can't think of another person that I'm more honored to have here today to talk to than Jody Stevens, who is the member of the band Big Star. And the documentary is also premiering at Indie Memphis, the United States premiere at Indie Memphis Film Festival. Thanks, Jody, for being here.
Oh, thanks, Mamie. Thanks for having me.
So this documentary it's been years in the working. Big Star Story has been years in the making, and it's still going. I think that it's such a neat story. You are hometown guys. You named the band after Big Star Grocery Store.
That was located across the street from the studio when it was on National, yes. Yeah.
And were you guys friends in high school, or how did you guys meet?
Well, I'd met Andy Hummel, I think, when I was in the 7th grade. He was introduced to me by a friend of mine, Mike Fleming. Mike, and my brother Jimmy were in a band together for a while. That was the initial meeting there, and then years later, I was playing drums in the Memphis State University's production of Hair. I was still in high school, but I got lucky enough to play drums. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And Andy came to see a performance, and so that was the gateway to meeting Chris and John Fry, and then later Alex, and kind of took my life on a whole new path.
Do you think?
Yeah.
So the Big Star Story is one that some people may not be familiar with, but you guys recorded all 3 albums at Ardent in the 70s, and you received, you went out on the road and you had some success, but you didn't really have success on a bigger scale until the collection was sold to, was it Rhino?
Yeah, well, actually, it was the first 2 records, number 1 record in Radio City, the masters are owned by Concord now. And then the 3rd album, which is referred to as the 3rd album, or Sister Lovers, is has been licensed to Rhino or Ryco. But yeah, we did release those 3 records in the early 70s, and to some critical acclaim. John King was able to get it out to the kind of the icons of music writers then, Cameron Crowe and Bud Scapa and Lester Bang and a bunch of other folks, and
you guys
that's
toured.
what kind of kept the word alive.
Yeah, and you
over the
guys
years.
toured pretty good, didn't you?
No,
You didn't?
A handful of dates.
Really?
Maybe Memphis a few times, New York on 2 different occasions, Max's Kansas City there, a couple of clubs in Ohio. No, it's so
That
it was
blows my
really
mind.
it was. You know, at the time we couldn't find a proper manager or a proper booking agent, so it you know, it was a short kind of lived band in retrospect, but it was the
So-
kind of thing. We were on the 18-year marketing program.
Yeah.
You release 3 records and let people talk about it and pass it around, and then
And
18 years
then-
later you have an audience.
What a huge audience. I mean, people like REM and the guys from the Posies, and so many people have said that Big Star influenced them to be who they are. And, you know, they're now your friends, and not only your friends, but your fans. And then 18 years later, it blows up.
Well, you know, we're still kind of a cult band, but I've been, and again, thanks to people like Mike Mills, who would talk about us in the press in the 80s, and Peter Buck, both from REM, and, you know, a bunch of other folks that kept it alive. But I'm fortunate now that I can play in a band we refer to it as Big Star's Third Alive. We don't, Big Star as
Yeah.
a band doesn't exist
Yes.
anymore, but Big Star's Third Live was the idea of Chris Stamey and from the DBs back in the 80s. And so Mike Mills joins in, and Mitch Easter, and a cast of other folks, different lead singers, guest vocalists, and we get to do that from time to time.
Well, you know, we're almost out of time, but I've got to mention that this is Memphis Means Music Month, and I'm so glad you brought the Star and Micey album. They're actually just released their album, and they're going to be in Oxford, Mississippi on November the 24th at Proud Larry's, so we got to make sure that we go and see them. And if they're coming
I can't
anywhere,
wait.
I can't either. Thanks, Jody, so much for being here. And this is a reminder that Indie Memphis Film Festival is November 1st through the 4th in Overton Square. And coming up next, a visit to a local costume shop just in time for Halloween with our very own Shotzi from Professor Gould's Horror School.
Hi, it's me, Shotzi, coming to you from Mr. Lincoln's costume shop. We're gonna find out about what's hot this Halloween. Mr. Lincoln, how long have you had this shop?
Going on 22 years.
Wow, I guess you've seen a lot of costumes in those years.
I've seen thousands of costumes in those years.
What are the most popular costumes at Halloween time?
Well, this year it's your superheroes. We've got Batman, we've got Spider-Man, we've got Captain America, the Flash, the Hulk. All of them are going good.
What is the weirdest costume request you've ever had?
That's a good one. I've had a lot of weird costume requests. Probably an oil company that came in and wanted all of their executives to dress like showgirls. And they all came in and they didn't want to do it, but when they left, they were all happy.
Have you ever had anybody return a costume and tell you it was haunted?
No, thank goodness I haven't.
Now, have you had a lot of people coming in looking for a Shotzi costume?
Yes, it's been going off the shelf like crazy, and I'm down to one, and it's right there.
Well, there you go. That is the Skinny on Halloween costumes for this year.
I told you I had a treat for you for Halloween. I have a superstar with me today. Shotzi, I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm glad to be here, Mamie. Thanks for having me.
So tell me what do you have going on for Halloween on Professor Gould's Horror School?
Oh, wow. Next Friday, we're having a special Halloween special at 8 o'clock. We have some local filmmakers who've given us some short films we're going to show. We've got some music, some gags, some yucks, and some larfs. Then at 9, we're having a special showing of Professor Gould's Horror School's presentation of Night of the Living Dead.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Mine too. It was fun to make, and I think you will all enjoy it.
Shotzi, do you have a girlfriend?
Well, I've got some girlfriends, if you know what I mean, and some lady friends.
Shotzi, I'm so glad you could join us this week. Please come back and see me again. Thank you guys for joining us on Local Color. Come back and see us next week and go out and enjoy your local color.